That's all I have to know.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Steve Truscott, and along with my brother Mark, we're very proud to be principals of Family Karate and have the opportunity to serve you and your families. The demos that you saw, Master Burleson hasn't been here for quite a while, so we wanted to give him some sense of all the different kinds of things that we work on at Family Karate and all the different levels of skill that we demonstrate at Family Karate. So hope you enjoyed that, sir. We had teams from, first of all, 4S Ranch, and then we had Penasquitos, and then Escondido, and then we had the Solana Beach team, and we also had the Special Olympics team. And we appreciate Mr. Katz and his team leading us in the pledge, but if everyone would be kind enough to stand, we're going to salute Master Burleson and Master Hawkins. So first of all, ladies and gentlemen, 10th Street Black Belt, and head instructor of the World Martial Arts Ranking Association of Fort Worth, Texas, and the instructor of Master and Mrs. Hawkins since White Belt, Grandmaster J. Pat Burleson. Yes. And next, let me introduce you to co-founder of Family Karate, my training partner, and my Taekwondo mom. 6th degree black belt, Mrs. Fran Hawkins. And the gentlemen we're here to honor tonight, who's taught us all to be honorable and live lives of integrity and courtesy and perseverance. He's an 8th degree black belt, and he is the founder of Family Karate. He's our instructor emeritus, Master Chuck Hawkins.
I'm often asked what the underbelt symbolism means, and that's fairly easy to explain to someone, whether they're in martial arts or whether they're not in martial arts. It's just a way to measure the skill growth on the way to black belt. It's a little bit more difficult to explain black belt from 1st degree on up to 10th. And because the martial arts is similar to military arts, you can understand what a general is in our history. You can look at people like Colin Powell and Dwight D. Eisenhower, who not only was promoted to general in his tenure, but he was also President of the United States. So it's really the same thing. Not everyone that joins the Army becomes a general. Not everyone that joins and trains in martial arts develop up to high-ranking black belt. And you wouldn't be here in this organization right here. This organization wouldn't be here if it wasn't for this man and the effort that he put out. He didn't just train and learn martial arts. He trained and shared it with other people and passed it on. So that's why the importance of the ceremony here. Mr. Hawkins, face me, please. Come here.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you 10th degree black belt Chuck Hawkins.
I said earlier at the City Hall, Escondido City Hall, and I want to say again, in 1968, I walked into a very scary place. It had reed fencing around the inside, and the sign outside said Korean Ways Karate. And in 1968, most people thought karate was pretty weird. Nowadays, it's pretty weird if you're not involved. Anyway, I walked into this scary place, and there's a bunch of people in there, a bunch of guys, they're lined up kicking this bag, and this one guy kind of looked like Robert Mitchum, and that's a compliment, sir. Big arms. He walked over to me and said, "Hi, Pat Rosen." That changed my life. That 1 minute relaxed me enough to get started on a lifetime journey. A few years later, several years later, we kind of lost touch. And Master Rosen came out, and I was getting promoted to a high rank again. And I hadn't seen him in years. And so he went to the Rancho Penasquito School, which was a lot smaller then than it is now. And a lot of the parents were sitting around the class watching the kids. And he walked in, and to each parent, he walked over and said, "Hi, Pat Burleson." I know you guys think that I've done a lot, and I feel like I really feel rewarded from all of the people that are here and all of the people that I have been able to touch. But I want you to know, not only has Master Pat Burleson always been a humble man who was very, very accomplished, but he's been an ambassador for martial arts and I want to say the peacemaker among several martial arts, all the different systems and styles. Everybody knows this man. Everybody has seen this man, and anybody who's ever competed with this man never forgets it. But because of his efforts, as much as anybody else I can think of, all of the martial arts, karate and judo and jiu-jitsu and kung fu and all of that have a better understanding of each other and a much, much more of a respect. You drop a pebble into the pond, and you never know where the waves are going to end up. Thank you, Master Burleson. Thank you, sir.
So, ladies and gentlemen, there are so many people here that we need to acknowledge, but I'd really like to thank some of the people that we weren't expecting to see here tonight that have had a long history with family karate. So how about Master Johnson? You jump up there. And Dr. Johnson is so good to see you. So you can all see how sweet and loving and an amazing artist Master Johnson. He's the man I was most afraid of in the whole world. Only because I didn't have Master Burleson working with me in those days. But Master Johnson made me a much, much better martial artist, and I'm very, very grateful to have him in my life. Also, another one of my training partners is Mr. McDonald. Mr. McDonald here. He was at our civic ceremonies. We're really glad to see him tonight. And, you know, martial arts is about lives transformed. And I actually mentioned this person to Chief Carter tonight at our civic ceremonies, and I can't believe that he's here tonight. It's just one of those serendipitous things that we're so grateful for. Mr. Martinez, we're so glad you're here with your family, sir. You're a good service. You're a good service for martial arts and the transformational power of martial arts in a person's life. I'm also really, really grateful to have a really important person in my life here, and that's Mr. Cliff Phillip. And dear wife, Lee. And martial arts, Mr. Phillip credits martial arts for getting him out of a wheelchair, and his wife was telling me that martial arts almost put him back in a wheelchair, but we're really glad to see him up and back around, so thank you. Also, we're really glad to have one of my former students, Mr. Daniel Miller, who trained with his brothers, and the sisters coming all over to Vegas. We're really, really glad to see you tonight, sir. Please give our love to your family. So, who else should I be recognizing, sir? There's so many people who came out tonight. Anyway, thank you, every single one of you, for coming. We're so glad to see you. And we're so appreciative of all the parents who had your program and kids in our program previously and telling us about your kids in medical school and making a difference in the world and giving credit to your instructors for those differences in your life. I really appreciate that transformational thing that happens from these tiny little kids growing up into compassionate, caring people who make a difference in the world, and that's what we're here for. And so we're really grateful for that. Now, some of you have not been with Family Karate long, some of you have been with Family Karate a long time. One of the things I'm most grateful for at Family Karate is our family tree. As you heard, and you'll hear more about this in a minute, Master Burleson started teaching Master and Mrs. Hawkins when they were brand new students. And my brother and I, and both my sisters, started with Master Hawkins when we were white belts too. And many of the instructors, Mr. Rihanna, lots of instructors up here started with Master Hawkins or Master Hawkins students as white belts. But our average senior instructor, 4th degree and above, has been with Family Karate. This just doesn't happen in the United States. It's certainly not in a transitional town like San Diego, over 30 years each. So we're really grateful for that, and we're grateful that you're the next generation, and this is the team that's going to create the next 50 years. And we'll ask Master Wilson a little bit about that. So would you guys like to hear a little bit about history of Family Karate? Good. Won't be for me. So Master and Mrs. Hawkins and Master Wilson, we just spent a few minutes chatting about that. We'd love to have you do that. So, Master Grosso, I'm not quite sure how far back to take this, but you were in the Navy, and what year did you join the Navy, sir?
1955. I was 3 years old.
So your mom and dad signed up to join the Navy at that age, and you're already a boxer, and you boxed for the Navy. Tell us a little bit about that, sir.
Boxing was my first martial art. This is what I'm going to tell you right now is for you kids in the audience. Raise your hand. If there's something about you that you want to improve on, you can do anything. When I joined the military, I was 146 pounds, and I didn't like everything about my body. I was way too small, too skinny, weak. And I started lifting weights and got a respectable physique going for me. Then I started boxing, and that wasn't easy. But I lasted through that and actually got up to where I was a nation fleet champion. In my travels all over Southeast Asia, I picked martial arts up, and martial arts changed my life. Martial arts taught me that anything I want to be, I can do. And I never received a no for an answer. So I want all you kids to make a contract with me. Anything in life that you want, you can get it. Whether it's an education, a lifestyle, or something physical.
Thank you, sir. So, you returned to the United States, and you're in Texas, and Master June Reed was teaching at San Marcos State College in Texas. Where did you meet him, and how did you come about that you were your black belt from him?
Well, to back up just a little bit, at the time I did get discharged, there wasn't any such thing as a black belt in a 6-state area, if you can believe that. Now there's a black belt on every corner. But their martial arts wasn't even taught on a large scale in China, Korea, and Japan, especially to Westerners. So it was a brand new art. The first karate school that I opened and wrote karate on the window, my first customers came in and thought it was a Chinese restaurant.
So we used to have a big sign in our Escondido school that said Taekwondo. And I used to get calls from the little ladies to refinish their teakwood furniture. That was before Taekwondo was in the Olympics.
June Reed came over as an exchange student, as a Korean military officer, and he was going to school in South Texas, and he had already started a karate club, and that he had about 100 students in it. So actually, he was the one that a few other people scattered around New York City, and Kansas City, and Arizona that had regular karate range, but there were very few black belts. So one of June Reed's students, a man named Alan Steen, had a school in SMU campus in Dallas. And he had heard that I was teaching in Fort Worth. I heard he was teaching in Dallas. And so we got together and hit it off real well. And he vouched for me. We were working out together, and June Reed accepted me as a student. And I was a brown belt at the time. I had earned in Japan. He didn't like a lot of that, so he changed some of that around. And Alan made black belt 3 months later, and then I made black belt right after he did. So, but we did have this is for, how many of you in here love kata? Love porn. Good. How many of you are stretching that a little bit? Okay. I don't have a lot of sympathy for someone that tells me how hard porn is. The University of Texas is in Austin, 200 miles from Dallas, Fort Worth. So when I met June Reed, he realized that he was starting a school in Washington, D.C. He realized it would be a long time before he seen either Alan or me, either one. So he said, I want to trust both of you guys to a black belt. The form that you're going to learn is by sight. And so he taught me half of by sight, the beginning half of it. He taught Alan from the half of it forward to the end. On the way back, we stopped, got out in pastures and fields and everything, turned the headlights on, and he'd practice his half, and I practiced my half so we wouldn't forget it. And then when we got back home, we would get together, and I taught him my half, he taught me his half. So we worked hard to get that farm down. So that's just the farm is your discipline. You'll only be as good at martial arts as your basic fundamentals. I don't care if you've got a lot of natural footwork, timing, and everything. You'll only be as good at martial arts as your basic fundamentals. And that's what form is. That's your job to put the discipline. A lot of people say, can you learn karate without form? And I say, no, you can learn kickboxing. It's an art. It's a good art, but you can't learn karate without form. You can't get the discipline. And that discipline is important. That is the most important part. Everyone, I'm sure most of you here would agree with me that.
Thank you, sir. So, moving forward a lot, you still have a relationship with Grandmaster June Reed to this day, and you were the winner of his first national championship, and that was 1963, sir?
1964.
1964, and that was the year right before Chuck Norris and Mike Stone and all those great champions who all followed you. So you were the first national champion.
Yeah, I quit fighting when all the bad boys come in.
Well, let me just tell you a quick story. One of the best fighters to come out of Korea, and one of the only fighters who came out of Korea who actually fought in U.S. tournaments was Master David Moon, who still runs a very big organization in Mexico. And I saw a videotape. Now, this is in the days when people used to do one-shot Japanese-style fighting. And I saw a video, Master Burleson doesn't need to listen to this, shot over Master Burleson's shoulder. And Master Moon took a shot at Master Burleson, and that was all he got. Because Master Burleson just ran him down literally into the ground, and then chased him out of the ring until a referee grabbed Master Burleson. So that was one of the most exciting videos I've ever seen.
I like that story.
I'm sure there are people that have lots more of those. So Master Arkansas talking about 1968. So, ma'am, both of you were doing off-road motorcycle racing, and your doctor told you that you probably thought that you were beating your body harder than the motorcycle, and that you might want to do a safer sport, and somehow you decided that karate was going to be that.
I wanted tennis.
Okay, so how did you get from tennis to Mass Burleson, man?
Well, Chuck met me for lunch. We were both working, and he said, I have an appointment tonight. And I said, well, where? Well, with a karate expert. And I said, karate? I thought we were going to take up tennis. And so he signed up. But there was only one girl, it was Phyllis, that I saw in the dojo. And I talked to Talana. I talked to Talana. She was a yellow belt, I think, at the time. And I said, I'm the type of person who has always believed that anything a man can do, a woman can also do. Maybe not the same way, because we have different muscle structures or whatever the case may be. And I don't believe we can do it better, maybe, than some men, but that's just, you know. But I was my own women's liver. I never joined the Women's Liver Society or anything because I believed they were going too far. My opinion was that we had done everything together. But we raced motorcycles together, anything that I have another philosophy. If you don't like the fact that your husband's gone all the time to this or that, like racing motorcycles, if you can't lick him, then you better join him.
So then, jumping ahead, some years later, you moved back to California, to San Diego, and with Master Wilson's lessons, you began a studio, even though you were a brown belt. Is that right, sir? So tell us about that first studio here in Escondido. How big was it, and who was training with you?
Well, it was 90 square feet, and I had to take out a partition to get that much. And started training with me was my daughters and my wife. And then I got one child student, then I got one adult student, and we kind of started to go forward from there, and then I got a couple more.
Family karate really was the Hawkins family.
Absolutely. And we did demonstrations, and we had some foster children too a little bit later, but we would go to the service clubs around to do demonstrations, and whatever, anybody that would let us do a demonstration. In my demonstration team was my wife, who beat the stuff out of me, and my children, who did forms and sparred and all that kind of thing. So it wasn't called family karate, but it was, because that's all there was. It was us.
Thank you, sir. And so, you had that studio in the studio in Escondido, which still exists, which is a home school. And then when did you start the San Diego school?
That was 1976. What I did was, I was advised by a good friend of mine that, you really need to, Escondido's kind of a small town, and you need to get something going in San Diego. So I took out an ad in the phone book for a karate school in San Diego, and it didn't have a location, I just had the ad. But when the ad started hitting, I had an answering service, and we started getting a lot of hits, and then there's one thing would happen. There was a Korean instructor there, Jong Lee, who had a school on Elkhorn Boulevard, and he left that school and he moved to another location. Well, that school that he had was up for rent, and so I rented that school. And it was amazing because the first month I signed up about 30 students, and I did about that every month for quite some time. So all of a sudden, the San Diego school was really, I was making my living at the San Diego school. It was awesome. And we just went forward from there. So it's pretty neat.
And that's where Mr. Orange and Master Johnson and Bill Haskell and Paul Sharp and so I remember coming in maybe in 1978. We just moved to the United States. I asked you if I could enroll. You allowed me to do that. And then I asked you, and then Debbie, our sister, joined. And then we asked Mark, decided he wanted to do it. So I remember your answer to that because there were no kids in class. So Master Hawkins maybe a little bit less diplomatic in those days. He goes, okay, well, I'll let him try it, but if he goofs up, I don't think goof is the word he used, but if he goofs up, you're all out. So we're very, very grateful to be here to this day. So
I don't know where you left that.
Well, Mark was 11 at the time. He was 11. And I had a kids class, but they wanted to have the Mark in the class with them. It was much more convenient. And at the time, we didn't have family classes, so it was pretty disciplined. But I got to say this about Mr. Johnson. He came in, he was already a black belt, had some training, and we get to be friends, knocking heads essentially with each other. You know, when two dogs get together, they've got to figure out who's the dominant one. And at some point, they say, well, we're just about equal, but let's get along and we'll have some fun. And so Mr. Johnson and I spent a lot of time and fun times together. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later, but he was a real good friend and somebody that I could count on being there for me. So I really appreciated his friendship all this time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
yes, I have lots of stories I'll tell you about Master Johnson later, too. So I'll tell you one quick one right now, is that when Master Johnson was training for a higher belt rank, I would teach the classes up until the senior class in La Mesa, and then he would teach the senior class, and then he would keep me after to be a target. And I quickly learned how to run and hide. And I would duck behind the potted plants or the Nautilus machine or anywhere I could to get away from him. And I finally found out that I could survive for 30 seconds or so if I ran backwards behind his left side. So he said, I knew I was in trouble. So I think that Master Johnson invented jump 360 round kick. Just interrupt my run behind and crack me in the back of the head. So I appreciate being part of the inventive process here, and I still have the knots on my head to remind me of it, so thank you. So thank you very much, Master Burleson, for creating this all for us. Thank you, Master and Mrs. Hawkins, for doing this. And I really want to thank, and I know that you all want to thank, all of our instructors who have kept this thing going for generation after generation. And Master Burleson, just quickly tell us in the last couple of minutes that we have, tell us about your vision for this 10th degree Board of Masters so that the next generation continue on, please.
One of the questions I got, I have a small band of advanced black belts like Mr. Hawkins in different parts of the country, and they asked me if I was going to step down and retire. I said, no, I'm going to live, be 150 years old. Help me 150 and be out there punching and kicking. I said, the way this is growing worldwide, we need a structure, we need an organization, a 9 degree, 10 degrees that I want to see it while I'm still alive. I don't want it to happen after I'm already gone. That's over. So actually I have a method to my madness.
Thank you very much, sir. Well, thank you, everybody. We really appreciate you coming tonight. Please give a big hand to all of our black belts who support your kids. Master Burleson, responsibility is to raise courteous, cooperative karate kids and to teach people to be respectful and to make a difference in the world. And that's what he was honored for tonight by the city of Escondido, and I hope somebody will have a chance to see that video, and I hope you see the articles in the UT and also on TV this morning with KUSI. So thank you very much for flying out, both of you, and thank you for joining us, sir. It's wonderful to see you. And so if we could just bow to you, we'd be very grateful right now. Okay, thank you. Black belts, please stand. And please place Grandmaster Burleson. Hit! And the United States' newest Grandmaster and our instructor emeritus, Grandmaster Chuck Hawkins. Right? Yeah. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll follow Grandmaster Burleson now. Thank you.
I'm grateful for it.
Hi.
Every day I wake up, my happy dance.
Where's Daniel? Did he say hello to you?
My schedule for tomorrow night. Yeah.
Hi, Mrs. Olmsted. Hello, Mr. Olmsted.